Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Brother DZ. I'm here with a video breaking down the connection between Moors, Israelites, and the gods, as you refer to them as Elohim or Anunnaki or Anunnagis. So, I'm gonna basically start from Moors, then I'll move to Israelites, then I'm gonna move to Elohim slash Anunnakis or Anunnagis. Um, so right now I have this this definition pulled up on Edom edomonline.com. So right, blackamoor. All right, so there's a lot of words that have been like changed throughout history, and you know, black and more, they tend to have different meanings depending on the time period that you're referring to them in. So, I pulled up this definition because I didn't want to start from more and I didn't want to start from black in particular. So I said, all right, let's jump for the in between one, the blackamoor. All right, so as you can see, blackamoor is a noun meaning dark-skinned person or black-skinned African, attested from the 1540s, from the word black, which is an adjective, and then more, which is a noun. All right, so blackamoor, right? So now you see how nowadays everybody calls themselves crayon colors, particularly if you're in land of the Western Hemisphere, United States Corporation. People refer to themselves as white, people refer to themselves as black in particular, that dichotomy. But historically, melanated people were referred to as either like swarthy. They were also referred to as Ethiopians or Ethiopians, meaning burnt, and they were also referred to as Moors, Moor, so blackamoor. And before, this says from 1540s, but after that, a lot of things were happening during that time. You have the European nations subduing all of the indigenous tribes around the world. So, the Moors essentially fell out of power and were branded with certain labels and terms, hence black is one of them. So, as we can see, Moor historically meant dark-skinned person, period. And you got to put it in the context by, all right, now who's calling people black? Well, people who are not hued or not heavily melanated. They're the ones that's calling the other indigenous peoples around the world Moors or swarthy or, Ethiopians or Indians as well. That's another term that's synonymous, but we're going to focus on Moor, Moors in particular, right? So boom, we have that. Now let's go to, and this is the etymological breakdown on it. Oh yeah, let me just the since it's already here, black adjective, right? So from the Old English, blake, meaning absolute dark, absorbing all light, burned. We have this, the usual Old English word for black was swart, hence swart, hence swarthy. So you see all of this, relation, and then we're gonna go to more. Now here they have it listed as a verb, meaning basically associated with a ship. But if we go to click on more and then check out the noun, right? So North African Berber, one of the race dwelling in Barbary, late 14th century from Old French more, and then all of this other stuff. All right, so I'm not gonna dive heavy into the etymological breakdown on it. But just want to drop that. So now we're gonna go to Webster's 1828 edition. So Noah Webster, prominent dude back then, and let's see what they have more, right? So noun, Greek, from the Greek, meaning dark, obscure, a native of the northern coast of Africa, called by the Romans from the color of the people, Mauritania, the country of dark complexioned people. The same country is now called Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, etc. All right, so you see how all right, we have this this association with the word dark, swarthy, hued, melanated, right? But you see how he mentions a native of the northern coast of Africa. Now, this is why you got to do your research and to be historically literate, because when we go to back to Africa on the etymological research on it, see Africa is a noun, right? So from the Latin, Africa, terra, quotation, African land, Libya, the Carthaginian territory, the province of Africa, Africa as a continent, right? So Noah Webster is saying, Moore is a native of the northern coast of Africa, but we see that the etymological roots of the word Africa in and of itself doesn't really even have any bearing in history, because historically that landmass, which is now referred to as Africa, was historically referred to as Libya to the Romans, because what did our guy Noah Webster say? Called by the Romans. So the Romans called any burnt, swarthy, dark, obscure skinned peoples, they called them Moors, right? So Libya. All right. So if we know that Africa as a word didn't exist in a historical context associated with the Romans, who they were referring to other people in that landmass. So Libya, all right. So now we got to go to, Strabo, right? So Strabo was actually, sorry, before I dive into it, let me pull up his map. All right, so boom, here we go. We got one of the first and oldest maps from that Roman Republic period. So this is called the Strabo map. I think it came out probably around like the early first century, if I believe. So you see, right? Got this world map from the Roman. So actually, sorry, let me backtrack. So Strabo was a Greek geographer, philosopher, historian who lived in Asia Minor during the transitional period of the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire. So historically, we should know that, Greece actually occupied the Mediterranean. They controlled the Mediterranean. They controlled, Egypt, Kemet, Alexandria, the city of Alexandria. And then after that, the power transferred over to Rome. So Greco-Roman, pretty much the same individuals, not too much different. But we go back and look at, Strabo's map. Look, you don't see no damn Africa here, but you do see Libya, right? Because this was historically the landmass of the province, what they associated, they meaning the Romans associated this landmass, this continent to be. They called it Libya. Africa didn't even exist. In fact, there's even references to the word Africa coming from the Roman general who battled against, Carthage. I'm sorry, Hannibal Barca from the Carthaginian Empire. And that Roman general's name who warred with, Hannibal Barca, his name was Scipio Africanus. And so there's theories on, well, that's why the continent later started being named or referred to as Africa from Rome. So that's why it's important to put the historical, geographical connections so that you can have a better understanding of world history. Because if you don't, you could get misled to think that a Moor is only somebody who comes from the north coast of Africa, which is insane. Like, that doesn't even make sense, because we just proved that Africa wasn't even a term used during the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire's claim. When they put their foot on the map, on the world map, so to say. So boom, we have Strabo, right? And you can see the other ones. You see Ethiopia, right? Spelled with the Aethiopia. Ethiopia. You have Arabia, Deserta, Arabia Felix, Assyria. India, Europa. So Libya. So Africa. Put it in context. It's important. All right. So we got that, right? We wrote down Strabo. Okay. So once again, so now we know that a Moor, by definition, is a dark-hued person that was referred to by the Romans during their early time period on the world stage. But you see how this is all that they knew, you know? They only had this awareness of the world. They didn't really understand and know that there were other land masses available. Hence, why, you know, further down the road, when we get to this dude, actually, it ties right in. Let's go, let's jump into it, y'all. So we got Pope Alexander. Actually, hold on for a sec. I gotta charge up my laptop. This one is kind of dying right now. Make sure I got this in place. All right, bet. So we back in. All right, so now we're on Pope Alexander, the what is that, the sixth? Yeah, so Rodrigo Borgia. All right, so for some of y'all who don't know, you know, this is the father, sorry, this is the man who was responsible for commissioning a lot of the work, you know, certain paintings that we see, you know, certain apostles and biblical historical figures, changing the actual depictions of them, how they were historically, into new, you know, faces, new names, things of that nature during this time period. This came about from the Borgia, who was the father of Cesare Borgia, who happens to be the image that he was used as what Jesus Christ would be. You know, he was the image that you see currently of Jesus Christ. You know, Jesus Cristo. That was, you know, Pope Alexander's son, Cesare Borgia. He was the figure that would be used to depict what, you know, Jesus Christ looked like. But, you know, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, let's dive into it. So Pope Alexander the Sixth, right? So, you know, what is it? He was the head of the Catholic Church, ruler of papal states, you know, from 1492 until his death, 1503. You know, prominent Borgia family, you know, all of this stuff. And, you know, Alexander's papal bulls of 1493 confirmed or reconfirmed the rights of the Spanish crown in the New World following the finds of Columbus in 1492. All right, so boom. I brought up this pope because he issued out, you know, the Dum Diversas, sorry, not the Dum Diversas, that's later. The Bull Inter Caetera, Alexander the Sixth, as you can see, right? Pope Alexander the Sixth, VI, VI, boom, May 4th, 1493. All right, so we're gonna read this real quick. So you got Alexander, bishop, servant of the servants of God, to the illustrious sovereigns, our very dear son in Christ, Ferdinand, king, and our very daughter in Christ, Isabella, queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, Sicily, and Granada, health and apostolic benediction, among other works well pleasing to the divine majesty and cherished of our heart. This assuredly ranks highest, that in our times, especially the Catholic faith and the Christian religion, be exalted and be everywhere increased and spread, that the health of souls be cared for, and that barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself. All right, I'm gonna just fast forward a bit and get to, what's a good stop? Okay, boom. So recognizing also that you have long since dedicated to this purpose your whole soul and all your endeavors, as witnessed in the times with so much glory to the divine name in your recovery of the kingdom of Granada from the yoke of the Saracens. Oh, now we have another word that just popped up, Saracens. Well, what the heck is a Saracen, right? Because we got 1493, you know, we got barbarous nations, right? And now we have this term Saracen. Okay, Saracen was a term used in the early centuries, both in Greek and Latin writings, to refer to people who lived in and near what was designated by the Romans as Arabia Patria and Arabia Deserta. Now, did we just look at Strabo's map? Did we just pull up Strabo's map and see how, you know, um, we have Arabia Felix and Arabia Deserta. So by definition, a Saracen who lived in and near what was designated by the Romans as Arabia. So basically, that's anybody who's living in this area. of Arabia. Because outside of Rome, what do we have? We have Italia, right? And we have Rome here. So anybody who's over here is a Saracen. Anybody who's over here is a Saracen. Anybody who's over here is a Saracen. Anybody who's anywhere outside of Rome, Italy, Rome is considered a Saracen. Late 15th century German woodcut depicting Saracens. How are they dressed? Oh my gosh. Well, what do we have here? You see men with turbans on. You got the sword, a sheath. Women, headdresses. These are what Germans, or this is a German, late 15th century, 1400 German painting, woodcut, sorry, not painting, a woodcut of what a Saracen or a Moor looked like. A Moor, somebody who is dark hued, who's swarthy, who's clearly not of the Roman stock, right? Very interesting. Let's continue reading a bit just to learn some more. Okay, so the oldest known source mentioning Saracens in relation to Islam dates back to the 7th century. All right, by the 12th century, Saracen had become synonymous with Muslim. So clearly, anybody, now we already broke it down. Anybody who says that, the Moors are only Muslims, that's fraudulent, that's fake, that's not historically accurate. And we broke it down by definition in the papal bulls, as we saw, recover the kingdom of Granada from the yoke of the Saracens. The yoke of the Saracens, 1493. You see what I'm saying? We know that the Moors ruled, Europe, Southern Europe in particular. What was it? Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula, for 700 years. You got 711 up until 1492, and they had the kingdom of Granada at that time. All right, so boom. Next up, what do we have here? Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to see. Okay, so let me go to this, right? Because now, this video is about, the Moors, Israelites, and the Anunnaki Elohim connection. How are these three seemingly disconnected peoples are actually historically the same? Look at Prophet Daniel, 1700s, Russia. Look at the way that Daniel is dressed, right? Now, this is, of course, the Russians are depicting, a Moor, an Israelite Moor at that. Look at the way, what does he have on top of his head, Not a turban in particular, but it definitely is what others might call a kufi, whatever have you. He's there depicting Daniel in the same way that, Germans in the 1400s depicted Moors, or they call them Saracens. Same headdress, covered, robes, covered. All right. And then lastly, I'm going to dive into this before we start getting into the Israelites. So this is a very interesting photo. You look at this dude for a second, right? Look at this brother. He has a turban on. He has a crest on it. Looks like to be an image of somebody. But look at this brother. You can see the features. Look at his nose. Look at those lips. Negroid lips or Negroid Bantu features. And let's see what it says. It says Sardar Singh, Maharaja, Sanskrit title for great king or high king, a region of southwestern Rajasthan state in Western India, ruled by the descendants of Rathore Rajputs, was founded circa 1450. This is a Moor. This is a Moor. Moorish, it's in parentheses black, but Moor, kings of India. What did he say here? I found an interesting comment. Yep, because he said last name Singh doesn't translate to king, translate to lion. All members of the Sikh faith have the last name Singh. Singh is also used on Hindu religion, not just Sikhism. Interesting. So look at this Last name Singh doesn't translate to king, it translates to lion. Now check this out. Some Moors are considered Hebrews who converted to the Islamic religion. In the ancient Hebrew language, lion is associated with king, such as the saying lion, king of Yahweh, Judah, Yahuda. Therefore, Singh means king in reference to a lion, aka king of the jungle. Woo! Can't get away from it. See, this is why, you know, etymology, the breakdown, historical breakdown of words and their roots, geography, cartography, history, law, it's all interconnected, right? It's all interconnected. It's all important for you to have a real understanding of what a Moor is. And this is where I'm gonna end it, y'all, because this was very, very important. The last name Singh, it translates to king, but we know that there's a relation between king and lion, and that just got us right back into the Israelite portion of it, the Israelites. Anyway, I'm gonna cut out right now, and we'll continue doing the next part of this video because I gotta cut out and do a few things. But yeah, hope this was educational. Hope y'all learned some things, and yeah, your boy's gonna be back to do some more. All right, peace out.